welcome to another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm your host, Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions. And I'm excited because I've got a Marine in the house today. He's also an entrepreneur. He's a loyal husband, and he's the proud father of two beautiful girls. On top of that, he's the owner and co-founder of several multi-million-dollar companies that specialize in the acquisition and real estate development, transportation and logistics, investment, and business education and consulting. But really, his specialty and his passion is about teaching motivated individuals the secrets, techniques, and proven strategies that will create wealth in any business that you choose. And as a result of that, having just achieving your financial freedom and living the life you want to its fullest. Please help me welcome Edwin to the Creating Powerful Impact stage. What's up, Edwin?
Hey, Shay, thank you so much for having me here today. And to everyone listening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever part of the world you're listening on today, welcome to the show.
I'm super excited because you've just got a wealth of knowledge in a bunch of different industries, so to speak, right? Like coming from the world of the Marines, the US Marines, that's one kind of industry, and having like its own background. You know, part of my team is also in the armed forces. So it's like really exciting to bring that knowledge and specialty into business. Then you've got your entrepreneurs, your co-founder, you have a couple of multi-million-dollar companies. I'm really interested in kind of diving into like, what are some like just daily habits that people can have that you've used from your Marine days that you incorporate into being an entrepreneur that we can all utilize and start implementing today?
Yes, no, definitely. And as far as the daily habits, right? I think it doesn't matter what your habit is what is the consistency? Are you doing something consistent? Are you never stopping? Are you never giving up? And my habits are all over the place, especially right now that I'm in a transition phase. And you know that I mentioned to you that I just moved from the United States to Colombia for a couple of years. So my daily habits do tend to change, but I'm consistent with them. So for example, eating right. Do I eat right every single day? Maybe not. But do I stay consistent with trying to eat right every single day? I might skip a day here, I might skip another day there, but I'm staying consistent with them, right? So it's not a habit that you always keep it, but it changes with the time and it continue improving with time. And as far as business, let's talk about the business, right? The habits are simple, and I like to keep business simple. And I always teach my students the reason I'm successful in business is because, number one, I do everything over and over again. And number two, I try to keep as simple as possible. Entrepreneurs try to tend to complicate things. And especially if you come from an engineering background, you try to complicate things, make it extremely complicated. But once you figure out what is the process of this, how can I take it from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4 and make your business between 4 to 6 steps, that's where the success starts happening, because you simplify your business. And that could be the habit. That's the habit, right? How do I make my business process? How do I teach my employees what they need to do on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's true. We do tend to kind of look for the shiny object, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh, but so-and-so is doing this over here. Maybe that's what I should do. When in reality, it's like, okay, every business needs clients. Who are your clients? How are you supporting them? And what are the steps to be in front of them, make them an offer, get them crazy awesome results, right? Like if we really break it down, that's what we all do.
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay. Anything else to add on that?
You said it right? How can we add value to our clients? And it's adding value by solving their needs, solving their problems, figuring out how can we fill their need, because at the end of the day, the client has a need, and it doesn't matter what type of client. Like in my transportation company, my client's need is to get that product delivered from point A to point B when they need it. How do I solve that problem for them? I have to become dependable. In my development company, even though I'm building multi-million-dollar homes, their client is build their dream home. How can I build somebody's dream? Is by building a magnificent house to add a lot of value for it. And just to give you an example, how do I add value to multi-million-dollar homes? Is if I'm building a $5 million house, I'm going to put $7 million finishes into the house. So when the buyer comes into the house, they're looking like, wow, I'm just buying a $5 million house, but it has everything here that I have seen on a $7 million house. So you're adding value to that client.
Yep. Yeah. So if we stick with the habits, how are you utilizing like the right mindset? Like, how are you doing that on a daily basis?
It starts everything in order for us to have the right mindset is embracing and analyzing where do we come from and what are the things that are we doing that are bad, right? And the biggest one from that is being negative most of the time. And it was so funny that you talk about this mindset at this moment, because this weekend I was in Miami on a church conference, and one of the pastors said something really impactful, right? That I teach a lot of my students, but I didn't get it. The way that I taught them was, okay, make sure you journal every day, everything that you do. Every hour for the first week, start journaling everything that you do. And then in a week, tell me, what do you notice about yourself? Because we need to start embracing the things that we do in our life, right? And understanding what are we doing that we're not happy with. But what the pastor said that I love was that we speak enough words in a week to write our own book. What kind of book did you write this week?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. What were you saying to yourself? What were you saying to others? What was written in that book this week? Ooh, okay.
What kind of book did you write this week? And then we start thinking back, my God, I'm writing like horrible books that I wouldn't want to read, right? On a weekly basis. So with that, becoming aware of that, that's when we start working in our mindset and realizing that we need to start letting go of all these negative thoughts. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't become successful because they're always thinking of a plan B. They always start with a plan B. If my business doesn't work out, I'm going to do this. That's a negative thought already. So how do we go to really having that mindset that we can accomplish everything that we want? And it goes back into what I wrote in my book, 9 Secrets for a Successful Life and Business, which is we need to have faith. We need to have faith in God, in a higher power, in Buddha, in Jehovah, whatever you want to call it. We need to have faith into something spiritual, something different than us. But at the same time, by having that faith, we understand that because, and I'm going to talk about me right now, because I believe in God. God made me as an image of Him, meaning that He made me perfect. So that means that I have to also believe in myself and understand that I can accomplish anything that I set my mind to. Because once we have that good, strong belief into something, that faith, we also have to believe in ourselves and knowing that we're capable of accomplishing anything we want in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So true. And I think that's just a diamond right there is, what is the book that we're writing? And, how do we need to then adjust our mindset to support us? Because that's what's going to help move us forward in achieving our goals and our dreams and really having that financial freedom.
Yes.
I know you have multiple companies. I'm curious. So here on the podcast, we like to pull back the curtain and we like to go, okay, everything wasn't great and amazing all the time, So I would be curious to know, in building all of these different companies, what is your perspective when it comes to building a team? What worked? What didn't work? What would you recommend? What would you not recommend? Is there any kind of story that you're like, oh, this was really horrible, but this is what we learned out of it?
Right. I thank you for that. And I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to understand that everything that happens in our life, we have to take that as a learning experience. Mm-hmm. And if we're not taking that as a learning experience, if we don't use that for the next thing that we're going to do, meaning that we're going to keep repeating the same cycle. So to me, one of my biggest things was that I went bankrupt in 2007. And to me, that was my biggest blessings in life because it taught me so many lessons that for me not to make the same mistakes again. Because if I start making those mistakes that I did back then, then I'm going to get back into the same situation of going bankrupt, right? So
Mhm.
that's number one. Number two, the biggest lesson that I had was that we have to stick and we have to be really, really honed in into what is it, what are our values and what do we believe in? And because sometimes we look at the shiny object, like you talked a minute ago, and we talk about, okay, no, if I partner up with this person, I could make a lot of money. Or if I work with this person, it's going to be money. Or let me get a contract with this client because, it's going to be a very nice contract. But for you doing those things because you're following the money and you start going away from what you truly believe is and what your values are, then things don't end up working out because it happened to me with multiple business partners. I have business partners that have stolen from me. I have business partners that they got greedy and again, because of greed, things change. They turn your back on you. They steal from you. The business goes down. So what I learned was that I need to be true to what my beliefs and my values are. And when I started doing that, not only did I start aligning myself with the right people, but also started hiring people in my team that have my beliefs, have my values, and the growth of the company becomes so much faster and so much more organic versus you leaving your values and your beliefs and just trying to make something happen. That's number one. But number two, the other thing that I learned is that your values and your beliefs in business have to be aligned with your same values and your beliefs in life. Because that means that, if I say that in my business is all about having honor, being fast and being dependable, but I'm not that type of person in my life. I'm being a hypocrite.
Yeah.
So they have to align with the person that you really are, because at the end of the day, whether you want to believe it or not, you end up becoming the face of your business. You end up being the brand and the ambassador of the business that you run.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. I mean, even if you get to the point where you're like trying to brand the entity itself, but in the beginning, it's still you, right? You're
Yes.
still the head of it. You're still at the helm. You're instilling those beliefs into the culture. And so what I'm hearing you say is that culture is what is bringing the right people onto your team. And when you're not
Yes.
in alignment, then the people that you bring on are also not in alignment. And then that's where you get a lot of the rockiness and the like, oh my God, my team's being horrible today. But it's because the system and the structure and the foundation is not where it's strong enough to bring the right people in, right?
Yes, that is correct. And then when you talk about foundation, we could put an example as a tree. If you don't have, if a big tree, a strong tree doesn't have big roots, it's not going to survive. It's not going to sustain itself. It's going to fall apart. And that's the same thing. You have to make sure that you start with the strong roots in your business. You start working on your business early on since the beginning in order for that business to grow the right way. And it might take a little bit longer because sometimes you might think, if I hire this person because of their values or their beliefs and because I'm being too strong and too anal, excuse for the word, but too anal with what I believe in, then I'm not gonna have enough people work with me. And one of the things that I could tell you, like when I started really speaking about my faith and my beliefs and everything else and being very open with it, a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs came to me and said, you know what, I commend you and I applaud you because not many people talk about what they believe in because they're afraid that their business is going to suffer. They're not going to be afraid. But one of the things that I learned in life is that, we live in a world in abundance. There, if you start thinking about how many cars there's in the world, start thinking about how much money there's in the world, if you start thinking about how many people, how many eggs, how many cows, how many chickens, how many businesses there are, we have a world of abundance. So if I want to segregate myself to only faith-based entrepreneurs, there's an abundance of that. So meaning that I'm not going to lack enough business, never, because there's a lot of that.
So if we stay along the thread of abundance, talk to me about like multiple streams of income.
Yes. Everyone talks about having multiple streams of income. And one of the things that, and I smiled at the beginning when you were talking about all the businesses that I have and everything else, is because it always brings me back to something I used to hate, that they used to call me jack of all trades, master of none, right? Until I really started embracing that into my life, that it's better to know a little bit about everything and not be an expert at just one thing. And I became that type of person when I started embracing those into my life. But one of the things is that before I had before I had another source of income, I make sure that I focus into one of them 100%. I put a system in place, I put processes in place, let it run by itself. Then I will focus into the next source of income and the next source of income. But while I was doing that, the other thing that I realized was that every source of income that you have, it has to have a purpose. And to me, and I'll run through you what each one means to me, each one of my businesses mean to me, because each one has a purpose. So I own a transportation company, and my transportation company is my cash flow vehicle. That's the type of business that gives me my constant cash flow. Every week, my paycheck, in order for me to spend, pay all my bills and all those things. And my development company is my wealth creation vehicle. The purpose of that business is to continue creating my wealth. So from the money from my cash flow, from the money on my investment, I use that and I continue doing real estate development projects to continue creating my wealth. In my technology company, that's from my passive income vehicle. So from money that I have left over, I put it here and I let that business give me passive income, meaning income is not going to be compared to my cash flow income, is not going to be compared to my wealth creation income as far as returns, but somebody's working that money for me. That's the money that I take and I invest in other entrepreneurs and other businesses, and that becomes passive income for me. And my last source of income, or my last business, which is my business education and consulting company, that one is kind of like my God-given talent, where I give back for all the blessings that I have in my life, because the one thing nobody could ever take away from you is education. So if I'm able to teach you and to show you how to become successful, then nobody could ever take that away from you. And then you're going to do the same thing. Once you become successful, once you learn what success is like, you're able to teach somebody else. So it's something that continue going on, and that becomes a legacy type of thing, right? So that's what each one of my businesses mean to me. And those are the different sources of income that they do have a meaning for me, each one of them.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've never heard it quite laid out like that, where you really are intentional about, okay, this is the one that is, the golden goose that brings in the income so that I can, move it over here and then do this and then do this and then do this. And they all have a job and a purpose for what it is that they're doing to build the wealth for you ongoing and moving forward, right? It's not totally reliant upon it, but it like spills over, so to speak, right? Yes. And then helps build everything else up. So then you do have an opportunity to have the passive surpass the first one, but that's kind of what helps get it going, right?
Yes.
So good. And then I also love that your consulting and your teaching and your training company is part of your give back, right? And that you have a piece of it. It's kind of like you tithing in a way back into the community and the people that you serve and so on and so forth, right? On how to do this process.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, because I thought about it, and I'll share a quick story if that's okay with you, was that when I sold my first company, I gave my tithes and I really wasn't fulfilled. So I'm like, God, why am I happy? Like, I gave my tithe and it was a lot of money. What's going on here? And then in a dream, while I was praying and everything else, he came to me and said, I gave you the gift to become successful. And I want you to use that gift and share that with everybody else. And I think as we start going in life, as we continue growing and improving in life, we all realize that we have something to give back to people. And if we have a great marriage, then we have to teach others how to have a successful marriage. If we're good at parents, we have to teach others the type of parenting that we do in order for them to become better parents, because, we need help in this world and you cannot do it on your own. And that's why many, many years ago, I took the title away of self-made millionaire. I scratched that title off because nobody is ever self-made. We always need someone to become successful, and decided to use that title of God-made millionaire to be able to give the grace back to God, but to everybody else that supports me along the way I wouldn't be able to be here if it wasn't because of my team. I wouldn't be able to be here because it wasn't because of my wife and because of God and everything else. It's kind of giving that praise to everybody else and understanding that once we get to a certain place in our lives, we need to give back. And the way to give back is to educate others on how to become successful. And yes, the education doesn't necessarily need to be free, because a lot of times when you give stuff for free, people don't value that. So the moment that I charge for something is because I want them to value that education. But once they learn that education, once they become successful, the one thing that I do differently than a lot of people is that I do invest my own money and my own capital with my students, because I believe in what I teach and I believe in them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's kind of giving them, instead of a handout, it's like a hand up, right? It's like, okay, come with me. Let me have you by my side. Let's mentor and work at this together. Let me show you all the intricacies that are involved with it, which is amazing. I love that.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So we've touched on a few different things, but I know you have a wealth of knowledge. If people want to stay in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that? And do you happen to have a gift for our audience today?
Yes, of course. Yes. Number one, follow me on my social media channels, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it. I'm in all the social media places. My name is Edwin Carrion 78. But the best thing, if you cannot remember that, just go to my website, edwincarrion.com. There's a link to all my social media channels. There's a way for you to contact me through there. And like my mentor says, if you don't ask, you're not gonna get an answer. So whatever questions you have, go ahead and type it in, send them in. I will answer them. I'm always here to give back, to help people out. That's my purpose. That's what I love doing. So reach out to me.
Beautiful. And then your gift is your book, right?
Yes. And as far as the gift, if you love what you heard today, if you want to learn more about it, what I wrote is a book. It's called 9 Secrets for a Successful Life and Business. And it's a book that all my students learn and live by. It's a book that a lot of my millionaire successful friends live by as well. So I was able to put this book of what are the 9 secrets to really have a successful life, because it's not only about business, but it's having that successful life, right? Living life to the fullest, like I call it. So go to my website. Shay is going to give you the link in order for you to get the book for free. So take advantage of that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. It will be linked in the show notes to pick up that free book and get those 9 secrets. Now, before I totally let you go today, I would love to hear, what is a takeaway or memorable note that you would like to leave our audience with today?
Yes, I'm going to leave you with the one that I always tell everybody. If you don't know where you're going, you will eventually get there.
Beautiful. I love it. Awesome. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I want to thank everybody for listening on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take all the lessons that you learned, all the resource that you learned here today, start implementing them and creating even more impact in your world. So until next time, have an outstanding rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.